Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 nerds, by nerds, hanging out with all these nerds.
Ted.
Nathan Nerdarchy.
And special guests from Cardboard Fortress.
It's that guy you hate on those videos.
The Gobble Anthony. And today we're going to be bringing you Unearthed Arcana, the Barbarian, Primal Paths.
If you want to jump down to the description below, you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we have another Unearthed Arcana. Always it states the fact these are playtests, it's not written in ink, and blah 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 blah. Probably break your game, but have fun anyway.
Yeah, a bunch of disclaimers from WotC so they can not maybe balance stuff as well as they probably
It's
should.
like, well, you know, doesn't work in Adventure League, but go ahead and use it at your own table because we're not there.
Yeah, we're really creative and we don't have anywhere to put it right now because we're not putting any books out.
Barbarian has been severely lacking Primal Paths. We've had 2 to choose from. We got another one in the Skag, which I'm not particularly happy with.
Oh, I must have missed that one.
Well, they did the Battle Rager in Sword Coast Adventures Guide.
Oh, that's why it was in a setting book.
Right, and part of their main thing is wearing armor, and barbarians are not good at wearing armor.
Sure.
So, yeah, it neuters it a little bit.
You said Skag, and I was like, are they troll themed? It's only for female barbarian
No,
trolls.
not themed, flavored.
Skag is the Sword Coast Adventure Guide.
Yeah.
So they have three new paths for Barbarian. The Path of the Ancestral Guardian, the Path of the Zealot, and the Path of the Storm Herald.
Yes. They totally baited it and switched me with the Storm Herald. The one they're talking about, they're like, this is the path. This is the primal path where you use magic. And I'm like, Rage Mage! And I got to it and I'm like, that's not Rage Mage at all.
Wait.
No
It's
spells.
called Storm Herald. There was no way you were getting, like, Rage Mage.
I was totally getting Rage Mage.
No. They all use magic when you think about it.
It was wishful thinking. It really was.
All right, so did we want to go through each of them? Did we want to talk about which one's our favorite?
I guess we can start at the beginning and finish at the end.
All right, so the Ancestral Guardian, this is the one that you literally are surrounded by the spirits of your ancestors. I think, thematically, this one was my favorite. You go in, you get ancestral protectors, which wind up hindering your adversaries. You get an ancestral...
Essentially, they hang out and troll your enemies while you're fighting.
This
That's
one-
their job.
For me, this one was very Diablo 3. The Barbarian Diablo 3 has a number of powers, a whole string of powers, where he summons up a bunch of, like, ancestral guides, and they're, like, these compatriots that come along and run around with him and do various stuff. So this is very much that to me. Which isn't bad at all. Not saying that's bad. It was cool. That's cool.
So then at 6th level... Your spirit's going to aid you and provide protection to your allies. So the bonuses you get at 3rd level, you can kind of shift it to your allies instead of on yourself for the turn. At 10th level, you get the ability to consult with your ancestral spirits to get benefits in a check. And then at 14th level, this is the one that, in my opinion, although these guys tell me off camera that they differ, I thought it was a bit of a broken ability. On your turn... when you are an ally, you can see within 30 feet of you is damaged by a melee attack. You can use your reaction to just cause them to take 2d8 force damage. As your ancestral guardians that are following you around just smack it with their spiritual damage.
It doesn't bother me at all, especially when you compare it to the Storm Rager when we get to that. But a couple of things I would say about this Barbarian is it's kind of a tough theme to swallow without more visual descriptor for me, right? Are we talking about, like, when you go into a rage, like, ghosts appear around you? Because that's sort of what I think they're saying, but I don't think they're very clear about it.
So the way I would interpret it is, yes, literal ghosts are there, but you're the only one that sees them. Or if you want to, legitimately, there they are, and everyone sees them.
See, if I'm the only one that sees them, it's kind of a waste of a cool visual to me. But anyway, all I'm saying is I felt like they dropped the ball in describing this a little bit. It's really not a normal thing. There's nobody in Lord of the Rings that does anything like this. There's nobody that does, in any of the major stuff. So I think if you haven't played Diablo 3, you're not really going to understand what this is. And the other thing I thought about this was really cool. I had 2 like character-ish kind of ideas. And the first one is that this idea of and they sort of mention this as like tribal like tattoos and stuff that like show your history. This would be a really cool barbarian if you're doing like a jungle tribal guy and you did the tattoo thing like they say, or a Maori or something like that kind of theme. But also, this is a great way to do Valinor elves from Eberron. Do you remember them?
Yes, yeah.
Their whole thing was reliving the history of their heroes from bygone era. So what could be more of that, where you're literally bringing them into being around you?
Especially if you kind of reflavored the barbarian class to not be so barbaric.
Sure.
You know, and made them more, just more like warriors, and just totally describe them completely different. You take a background like a noble or something. So it just gets you further and further away from being what you consider a traditional barbarian. And then this suite of abilities, you bolt it on there, and it would really kind of give you that feel.
Right. And the two abilities, like the first one just gets it started, no big deal. The second one makes you kind of a defender because you're able to like toss your ability off onto another player, which I doesn't bother me much. The one that you said that they don't like, that I'm not fine with that. 14th level.
No, we like it. He doesn't.
Yeah, I'm the only one. I'm the only one that says I think. It's
I'm sorry. I think it's fine because we're talking about 14th level here, and like I was telling you guys before, the wizards like shooting magic missiles left and right or dropping meteor swarms and stuff, and I'm doing a little bit of thing over here. Yeah, not even a problem.
Isn't that like a 7th level spell at that point for a wizard? Like,
yeah. Once you're at 14th level, like
you're decimating the battlefield.
The rules of like reasonable things that a fighter should be totally gone out the window at that point. So no problem.
Going back to the ability to aid someone 30 feet away, I like that because barbarians generally don't get to affect things that aren't in their face.
Yeah, they're very self-centered also. Like it's all about me doing a bunch of damage, and so that's cool.
So it gives them a little range to play with as well.
Now the 10th level ability is borderline insulting to me if I was making this character. One wisdom or intelligence check, like in some amount of time. Like,
well, you get 3. You get to use 3 of them every long rest.
Give me a break. What a ribbon ability if I ever heard of it. Okay, I get around this thing that I'm not good at, right? Like, I'm never going to be good at that if I'm a barbarian. I'm clearly not building myself to be, like, smarty pants barbarian here. So it gets me out of it once in a while. I'm not even bothering to make that check half the time. You got 3 other people at the party that are going to do it. I'm totally redundant. Don't give me ability that lets me do it.
Barbarians, there's nothing to say that they couldn't have a decent wisdom score.
Well, there's point buy. There's stat buy that says
if you're on
you roll your stats, sure, when everything goes.
Well, I mean, if you focus on strength, constitution, and wisdom, you don't need the other ones. You really don't need intelligence. You don't need charisma.
Dex.
You don't want to get
punched in the face.
This is a really good build for an unorthodox character in general. I think because it focuses on other people besides just the barbarian, as well as giving you like you said, it's kind of like a ribbon ability. At that point,
at 10th level, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
10th level. That's what I get. Come on now.
Well, I mean, what is it? The other barbarian gets intimidate, right? At 10th level,
as an action. Yeah,
totally.
It's better than that one.
Give me a break at 10th level. Like, no.
So
you know what we're about
it's
here.
kind of beat at 10th level, but I think the ability to be outside of yourself with your abilities for the barbarian is interesting for this kid. So it's kind of
very thematic. I mean, the idea that you summon up the ghost and go, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I don't know nothing about it. What do you think? And they go, "Well, that's that thing."
That's not how it's going to be used.
But who cares?
The ghost is going to pop him and go, "No, look over there," because you're going to use it for perception every time.
Oh, that's fair. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. I hadn't thought about it as perception. I take everything I said back.
Perceptionists and like survival. That's
do you see anything? Like, look over there in that corner. All right, there it is.
All right, it's not as bad as the Intimidate one, though. I'll give you that.
All right, so when you guys want to jump into the Storm Herald?
Yeah, Path of the Storm Herald. Okay, so this is the one where I felt like they're in the description, not in the name. They're like, this is the one that really uses magic, and it really does not use magic that much. The only thing is, when you rage, you summon the elements around you, whether you're from the tundra,
it doesn't
or
use
the desert.
spell level magic.
It's an environmental rager.
Yeah.
Not environmentalist rager, it's environmental.
Greenpeace all the way. Now, you brought up an interesting point when we're talking about this one off camera, is the fact this one is very mathy.
It's super mathy, and it's also super tabletop. Like, you got to have miniatures for this one, I think. I don't think this plays in Theater of the Mind very well, because it's a bunch of auras. Maybe half as effective if you're playing in Theater of the Mind. You just can't tell if you're putting yourself between a bunch of people, and then you have to say to the GM, can I position myself such that my aura hits the maximum amount of people? The GM goes, I don't know, you hit maybe 2 of them. And it's like, well, if this was on a table in miniatures, then I'd be able to like really strategize this. You know what I mean? Actually, this one I like the most, though, I should say.
Who's plays Theater of the Mind anyway?
Oh, everybody plays Theater of the Mind, right? Nobody plays on a tabletop. Bullshit. But I like this one the most.
A lot of the online gaming, is clearly Theater of the Mind.
Yeah.
Unless you go to Fantasy Grounds or Roll20. But, so their Storm of Fury ability, and that's when we're talking about, whether they do fire damage, cold damage, or the C one is kind of weird because it
so
totally changes
unbalanced.
the mechanic of what's going on here.
Yeah, it's not power-wise unbalanced. It just feels like I can't tell if they made the Storm one and that was the one they meant to make, and then they tacked on these other ones so it wasn't so monochromatic, or what. But like you have two that work one way, extremely similar, basically just a type change, and then one that works completely different from those.
It's the old fire and ice or the opposite. So let's give them exactly the opposite kind of feel to them.
So then you have lightning in there, and you're like, what the hell?
So basically, with the two, anyone that ends their turn next to you, they take 2 plus half your barbarian level.
Plus a fourth of your barbarian.
Oh yeah, 2.
Can I call out WotC here for having way too much new math going on? I mean, not like Division's new, but where else in the game do you do a fourth of a character level? You couldn't have just said use this stat.
Plus 2. And it's a fourth of the level plus
Just
2.
say use a stat. Just be like, oh, use your con stat. This character needs more
Or half
con.
your level
you know what I
or
mean?
something,
It's going to go up. Just use it. Or just
maybe
base it on your level.
It goes up 1 for every ability bump or feat you get.
Like,
You
what
could
kind
base it,
of
like, every
extreme
4
math did they
levels.
do that they had to say 2? Like, just give a number. If it was just a fourth of your level, then you'd be like, all right. But 2 plus a fourth of your level.
At this point, it should be a chart.
Yeah. Just say it goes up it goes up by 1 every time you get another ability off the character, or whatever.
Yeah.
2 plus a fourth of your level. Give me a break.
Now, the C one is kind of cool because you do a lot more damage, 2d6 right from the get-go, and you can knock the person on their ass essentially if they fail a saving throw.
This really comes down to what kind of DM you have. I mean, obviously it comes down to your personal theme on your character, obviously. But beyond that, the crunch of it comes down to what kind of DM do you have. If your DM throws a lot of enemies at you, then you want the auras that just hit things automatically. If your DM's one of these guys that throws like a big guy at you, you want the one that zaps, because I think mechanically the auras are better because they're just auto damage. The idea of just like a lightning like onto somebody around you every round, that's super cool to me.
Bolt out his ass.
Don't get me wrong. Like I look at the Frost one and I go, here's a barbarian. He like starts the fight up, goes into a rage, and just like cold smoke comes out of his mouth and surrounds him, and everybody's like getting like this around him. Or the dervish, which is the obvious sort of desert one, starts spinning and the swirling, sands come around him. Also very Diablo, by the way. They're all very cool, but the idea of like.
And with the, at 6th level you get Storm Soul, so the weird theme continues in the sense that desert and tundra exactly the same, just the type of damage changes. You have no problem dealing with extreme temperatures, and you have resistance to cold and fire.
Is hilarious.
But the
to me.
C1, right? Resistance to lightning damage. Okay, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's a less than.
Water breathing. You just can
Right.
breathe underwater.
Here's the thing that really pisses me off about this. I sound super negative. I like all of these a lot. But here's the thing that really pisses me off about this. Water breathing is so very campaign specific. It almost never comes up, right?
But wait, these effects only happen while you're
Exactly.
raging.
Like I'm gonna dive in the water and rage.
Seriously?
So in order for a barbarian to keep his rage, he must attack something,
Yeah.
right?
No, not on these.
Not
are
these ones.
These ones that you just get.
Oh well, thank God. But still, look at it like this. Like it's so environmental specific stuff like this
Yeah.
is so very corner case that this is almost the ribbon ability of this, right? I can breathe underwater. Great. Like I'm gonna go swim in a pool that
Well,
my rest of my allies
I
necessarily
think- I
can't,
think-
or my spellcaster has breathe water, and this didn't matter.
All of these little side effects are really going to be campaign specific.
Yes.
Whether it be, you don't
Extreme
suffer
cold.
extreme heat.
Well, that's what I was
extreme
going to
cold.
say was, as campaign specific as water breathing is, the other two are even more campaign specific. Can I imagine the last time I played in a game and someone said, "It's
you have a winter
so
coat?"
hot in here." Not that you're taking fire damage. No. It's so hot in here that you're exhausted faster. Never. And also, the rest of your party's screwed anyway. So who cares? Like, well, I'm not tired. These guys all have to take a nap, but I'm not tired, so that feels great for me.
You get the mock.
Who cares?
You throw them in the wagon, you start
Well,
pulling.
you do also get the resistances, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, they all give you the
So
resistance.
they give you some combat, they give you some non-combat.
Yeah.
And lightning is kind of the beat one, I'd say, out of the
I
three. Out of cold, fire, and lightning, I'd say lightning's the least used.
Yeah, it's like colder lightning is the big
Fire comes up the most.
The thing about it is that fire
poison.
Fire resistance is the one you probably want the most.
Yes.
But you also you don't want to be dealing fire damage. It's also what everything else resists.
Yeah.
So like, what do I do? Right? Like I either have a really good resistance and a not so great offensive power, or I got a great offensive power, and you know, kind of.
You play Totem of the Bear, and you're just resistance to everything.
Yeah, there's that comparison too.
So Shield of the Storm. Maybe this is what you're thinking of, Ted, because at 10th level, while you're raging, anybody
Yes.
in your aura that is an ally, they get the same benefits as you.
Super.
When it comes to resistances, although they don't get to breathe underwater. Now that would be kind of funny though. You come out of rage and they're drowning.
Well, I like the idea that you're like 10 leagues deep or whatever, right? Everybody's breathing because of your aura.
Yeah.
And then you're going, please don't let him not take damage this round, or please make sure that he has something to hit this round, or else we're all gonna drown. Right?
The party takes turn knifing him.
Yes.
Just to make sure.
Keep breathing.
Keep being angry.
Well, that's why it's good that's not based on whether or not you're raging, right?
True, but it would be funny.
Sorry, I still love the idea that this
Oh
would
yeah,
work when raging.
that would be a really quirky
Hilarious.
thing.
So Raging Storm. So 14th level, their last and final ability, which I don't actually remember what it is though. I read it yesterday.
All right, so the Tundra, the air around the air around you coldly slows your foes. The area within your aura is difficult terrain for your enemies.
Okay, so they're all terrain effects basically, where they hinder your foes.
I remember reading them, and like one of them was just like kind of better than the other.
Well, the storm,
It was
the C1 knocks you prone, I think.
The other weird thing about them is that they're all different abilities that kind of achieve the same effect. Like, I just don't understand why they made them different.
The desert, they make a save, and if they fail their save, their speed is reduced to 0.
Right, so it stops you.
They could be, trying to approach you or trying to leave you. Like, nope, I'm not going anywhere.
All right, so it's save or stop. Another one is
Save or get knocked prone.
save or knock prone, which is just kind of worse than stopped because you can jump back up if you have enough speed. But
And the other one is
Difficult terrain, so half your movement.
halves your moves. So I mean, to me, flavor-wise and mechanically-wise, this is like 3 ways of achieving the same result, and I just think it's unnecessarily complicated for WotC to put out 3 different ways of doing the same thing. Like they could have all been difficult terrain. Like, who cares?
the people want differences, and if it's like, oh, it achieves the same effect, and you just put the mechanics, just flavor them differently, people don't feel that there's actually options.
Yeah, but okay. So hypothetical situation. We're playing 2 barbarians in a game, right? You go cold, I go hot. Right? Sounds like a cool party. Two hot and cold barbarians, right? The Thunder Brothers or whatever. And so we get to this level, we're doing this thing, and now you got this aura going, and I got this aura going, and we double aura somebody, right? Now they're going to take difficult terrain, and then they're going to make a save, and they're going to make a save and get reduced to 0, and then make a save and get knocked prone, right? Double saves for different effects all the time, right? Instead, if you just had them be the same aura, then us putting our auras on top and trying to pull this shenanigans wouldn't happen, and we can skip a die roll. We don't have to have save. These all suffer from way too many saves, right? Like if the DM throws 10 orcs at you and they rush you and you got this aura, save, roll. This thing happens. It's just too much unnecessary rolling for what you could have just done was just say it's difficult terrain around them. You know what I mean?
That's sure, and a DM can make a judgment call. Or I've seen some DMs where it's like, all right, there's 10 orcs, they all have the same thing.
And group roll them,
They're
right.
going to group roll it. And
Yeah, you get a little bit of a homogenized experience, but you're going to go that way either way. I just think it's an unnecessary amount of rolling. Don't get me wrong. Still love this one the most.
All right, so then we move on to the Path of the Zealot, and this is the one that Anthony, you felt was like
The least interesting.
the least interesting or the least barbarian of them.
Well, this one to me is the hardest one for me to wrap my mind around, like thematically. This is a real divergence. Like when I try to come up with a character that makes sense for, this is the biggest divergence from Barbarian to me. Like you guys are saying, you could do a this Paladin mix. I don't really know what that is, right? Like Barbarian doesn't to me say holy powers and divine stuff. Like it just doesn't really mesh too great.
Well, a champion of your tribe and anointed by the gods. I could say it.
And if you were doing like a Greyhawk thing, you could say like this is a barbarian devoted to Cord. Like that was always a real weird place to be.
Yeah,
Should you be a cleric or should you be a barbarian?
The gods? I
you
think
know?
they mentioned like Tempest from Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
Hector from Greyhawk or Hexter or whatever his name is.
Or, if you didn't want to do the Dark Paladin for some evil god on a villain, like this could be a way of doing that.
Yeah, I was
right?
just going to mention that I think that they would go really well as like cultists of a certain.
Yeah, if
deity
you needed
or-
like a big like heavy hitter for some kind of evil cult,
Yeah, it
like
says,
this makes sense.
A variety of gods across the worlds of D&D inspire the followers to embrace this path. Tempest from Forgotten Realms, Hextor, and Erythanol from Greyhawk are prime examples. In general, the gods who inspire zealots and are deities of combat, destruction, and violence. Not all are evil, but few are good.
Yeah.
So
It's just tough. I had tough with this. I mean, everybody knows I like 4th edition best. They had the Avenger class in 4th edition, which was their, like, holy striker rogue thing, and I just couldn't really grab my mind around that either. It's just a really tough kind of, like, theme for me to go on.
So-
I also just don't like divine characters that much.
That's what it really comes
There,
to.
you know, I stay away from that, personally.
So I look at this one. I thought this was a very interesting class, and some of the things that are interesting path, and some of the things that are in it are things I haven't really seen before. But the thing to really look at is when you're looking at the classes in D&D. A lot of people, even after 20 some years, 5 editions, people are still wrapped their head around. Well, this is a barbarian, so I'm playing this savage creature.
Sure.
Logistically, you don't have to do that. You can say, well, this is my character, these are my suite of abilities, and I'm saying, well, he's a fighter that's a little bit more unorthodox, hasn't been trained, he doesn't have to be a savage, so it could fill into...
Well, what I kind of like see the Zealot being perfect if you're running if you're using like Norse mythology or whatever, and you're playing like a Viking type character who is the chosen of Odin or Thor, I could definitely see this being the way to go.
It's hard for me to do that when I have that one that shoots lightning. That's very also.
Well, yeah, there's that.
You know what I mean? I do love the opening. Is it the opening ability where it doesn't cost you anything to resurrect your character?
No,
yeah,
that's
material
it's late. You
components,
get
right?
that one later on. Yeah,
Okay.
you get that one later on.
That's the most true to a 3/5 barbarian I've ever seen them put out.
The,
Because when you were playing a barbarian in 3/5, there was a level,
No,
like
it's at 3rd level, yeah.
10th
When you're-
level or so. Oh, I run into the fight, I do some damage, I get killed. The cleric walks up and resurrects me. Every damn fight. Because he just had no ability to keep going. But this just says, well, that's going to happen anyway.
At 3rd level,
you're
your
back
soul.
up.
At 3rd level, your soul is marked for endless battle. If a spell would have the sole effect of restoring you to life, but not undeath, the caster does not need material components to cast the spell on you.
Sadly, no barbarian
Hilarious.
zombies for free anyway.
I love the idea. I mean, like I said, I don't really get the class too much, but I love the idea of a barbarian who just goes, I'm worthless. Let's do this. And just dives headfirst into the wood chipper every time because he knows he has the guy back there who's the real, like, head honcho. He's the
You're
tribe
kinda
shaman. Like,
you're kinda
no,
like-
your time's not done yet. You know what I
You're
mean?
kind of like, if there was planes, you know what I'd be doing, right?
Right. like your character's so haunted. You know what I mean? I just die all the time. Like, this is what I do.
It
Well, see
makes me
that-
think of the Celtic cauldron, the warriors going in through death and coming back through life.
Right.
Just like recycle. Yep. Just
It
keep going.
I don't like Game of Thrones too much, but it made me remind me of that character from Game of Thrones who just keeps getting resurrected.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What's his face? The red.
Yeah. And also just the idea, the gods aren't done with you yet. Like, get up, get on your feet, soldier.
You looked at it as I'm worthless and I'm just going to keep going out there and dying. I looked at it on the other side of I'm a champion and I have something to do, so the gods won't take me until I've completed my mission.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I looked at it the other way and I'm like, yeah, this is just badass.
Yeah, I guess I went a little edgelord on it, but
And at 14th level, there's a really cool ability where you can fight even if you're at 0.
Yeah, this is
So,
the one that goes
that's-
really well with a 3rd level power. Beginning at 14th level, divine power that fuels your rage allows you to shrug off fatal blows. While raging, having 0 hit points doesn't knock you unconscious. You must still make death saving throws, and you suffer the normal effects of taking damage while at 0 hit points. However, if you would die due to failing death saving throws, you don't die until your rage ends.
Now, I skipped over the 3rd level ability. I had no idea it was free to bring you back except for the spell. So I was like, this isn't that cool,
well, now
guys.
maybe you guys who play spellcasters can inform me here, but when you resurrect somebody, generally it costs you like a big expensive gem.
At 3rd level, if you do it within a minute, it's a $300 gold piece gem.
So this voids the cost of the gem.
Yeah, you can just walk up to
This
them at the end of
isn't
the fight
like
and go boom.
It's not like 3/5 where this is going to cost you experience or something.
No.
There's
All
no
right, so this
downside.
essentially makes that free.
The third level spell revive.
Revivify.
It's kind of like, well, he was mostly dead. He wasn't totally
Right,
dead.
he was given his last breath. And he just
Yeah.
shoved it back his throat.
Yeah,
right.
he's like,
okay.
get back in.
So you have a minute to cast the spell, and it restores them to a hit point. So it's not like, oh, you're good to go.
Right.
Some of the later spells that can cost 1,000 gold piece gem, it's like, oh, look, here's your finger. Everything else was melted away. Boom! You know, you're back and you're full and you're ready to go.
So all your equipment's gone.
So now with that power,
That's
you
rough.
can get disintegrate it, I think, and gather some of the dust together, and boom, maybe.
Just add some water to the
Yeah,
film.
add some water, make a little paste man.
So I don't remember what else does it do, because all of that's very cool, but it doesn't add a lot to your theme, right? And so if I'm choosing like what's the more interesting character,
So,
like
well, at third level, this one also gets an aura when you rage, and basically you become a holy bug or unholy bug zapper, as the case may be. We were kind of talking about like
does the holy or necrotic damage around you?
the radiant or necrotic,
Okay.
a die 6 plus half your level, and we're talking about like, well, it's not really enough to take out kobolds and goblins until higher levels. But pixies and sprites, you could technically be like a pixie sprite zapper.
You know what I always like about that is that, you know, you're making a barbarian. You're trying to swing through the fences here. You're like, I got to deal 20 damage on every hit minimum, or else I'm not doing my job, right? Like, give me the biggest axe. I'm going to chop the hardest I can, blah, blah. And then you have this thing go, beep, here's 2 damage. So when you go into that fight, and the description, the DM says to describe the situation, and you go, here's that big orc or that ogre, and I go, whack, like 30 damage. He's still barely hanging on. He dies. Well, how does that go? Like, imagine that in a movie. You know what I mean? Like, it would be so disappointing of an anticlimax, you know, like a climax of the fight. But I still like it. It's still cool.
Well, maybe you could do the bip first, and then, you know, if it's enough to push him over, it's the big shot that did it.
Yeah.
Because this is the start of your turn that they take the damage.
Oh, okay, all right.
So at 6th level, Divine Power that fuels your rage can shield you from harm. If you fail this saving throw while raging, you can instead succeed on that saving throw as a reaction. However, doing so immediately ends your rage.
Not worth it.
Yeah, well,
How many times can
it
you do that
depends.
ability?
Were you getting disintegrated to death? Were you going to be?
Yeah, it was
Is it suggestion or charm?
Sure.
Like, there's a couple instances.
This comes down to whether or not the
everyone-
GM tells you what you're saving from. A lot of GMs
yes.
don't, right? A lot of GMs just go make a save. And then you go, well, I don't know if I want to do this or not. Oh, you didn't? You decided not to? You're set?
Actually,
It was a disintegrate. You're gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it actually doesn't say how often you can do that ability. It says, however, doing so ends your rage, and you can't rage.
It'll be
against it,
limited
so
by
you-
your rage.
Yeah, it's limited by your rage then. I was
So
curious.
it's also limited by your reaction. Not that that matters.
Yeah, but you can use it again when you finish a short. You can't rage again until you finish a short or a long rest. So
Yeah, you're kind of stuck.
that one I think
Just give him a save pass every once in a while.
The thing about that to me is that that's going to come up once in a campaign. Once in an entire campaign that's going to come up. And I just don't need rules that do that. It's just not, it's not helping
Yeah, I
bring my
think-
character out
I
to say this
think of-
happened one time.
I think of this entire thing. That's my least favorite.
I would
thing.
just give him a pass your save once per short rest. Just
once per short.
yeah, whatever. Was it a 6th level ability? Pass a save? So you get, it's a fireball, okay? Half
That's-
damage.
It does seem like Wizards of the Coast is really like hellbent on making sure they give the barbarian at least one level of
Of
disability.
disappointment.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's better than it was in 3.5 where they had 15 levels of disappointment.
Here's a kick in the nuts. See ya, son.
I dig it. I mean, my only trouble with the last one there, with the divine one, is like if I'm looking for a really cool character, like mechanics to back up my cool character concept, it just doesn't bring that much to the table. Like and comparatively to the other 2 in that document, like those all tell half the story of my
It's
character.
because you
in
never tried
mechanics
to
alone.
build the Pixie Bug Zapper. when you want that character, you're going to want that
If I wanted
pack.
to make the Pixie Bug Zapper, I would have made the guy that shoot a lightning beam off of every round. You know what I mean? Or the
That's
guy
only
that
done
does
60.
freezes them in cold damage everywhere.
10th level has also been a little wonky throughout. Each of the different things. And this one here is you learn to channel divine power to inspire zealotry in others. As an action, and this is the part that hurts, you howl in fury and unleash a battle cry infused with divine energy. Every ally within 60 feet gains advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. And you gotta finish a long rest before you can do it again. So, like, as an action, you're literally gonna have to sacrifice. You're sacrificing the attack. You can't do it when raging because it doesn't really. Either you're going to end your rage unless you've got something.
Unless you took damage.
Right. Okay. Like this is a cool thing to start off a battle with, but like how often is that going to come up?
Mechanically, I think it's really cool. I just don't know what it means, like thematically. Like so, if I'm stuck, I got a big axe and there's some things flying around and I can't touch them. Like, all right, for one round, I give everybody super help to do whatever they were doing. Right? Like, okay. But what did I just do? Was that a battle cry? Like
Tarzan yell.
yeah, was that a
Absolutely.
yell? What was that?
It says you unleash a battle cry infused with divine energy.
Yeah,
so,
all right.
so it's like favor from a deity.
You know what it makes me think of? What was the video game where you where it was like throughout time. It's a fighting game. Time killers.
Time killers.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
I thought it was something like that.
Yeah.
Time slashers.
The Viking.
Someone should make a time slashers game.
Time murderers.
The Viking absolutely did a thing like that made it feel like where like the lightning strikes him and he raises his axes in the air and stuff like that. So what if you did something like that where you thematically describe it that way and then from you like the spectral lightning pours from the sky over your character and then arcs off to the other players that are get the advantage? That'd be cool. I mean, as long as you have a DM that's willing to let you have some fun with the descriptions and stuff.
The other thing I wanted to say about this like unkillable keeps coming back, like you can't keep him down.
The Revenant Barbarian.
What a great villain this would be, like, or a henchman, right? Like not the main villain, but the main villain's side dude. Is like you keep sending him after you, you keep like hacking him up and trying to like throw him into volcanoes and stuff to make sure he's dead, and the villain just keeps going, nope, he's back. He's back. More equipment. He learned what he learned from that fight, and now he's gonna fight you again. Like every time, like you can't keep this dude down.
He's essentially the T-1000.
Yeah, I mean, you could say like, he's a lich or whatever, and that would probably solve it. But it's so much cooler to say he's this.
So, what do you guys think? Are you digging on the Primal Pass? Let us know in the description below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
Check out all the social links down below.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.
Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 nerds, by nerds, hanging out with all these nerds.
Ted.
Nathan Nerdarchy.
And special guests from Cardboard Fortress,
It's that guy you hate on those videos.
the Gobolo Anthony. And today we're going to be bringing you Unearthed Arcana, the Barbarian, Primal Paths.
If you want to jump down to the description below, you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we have another Unearthed Arcana. Always it states the fact these are playtests, it's not written in ink, and blah 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 blah. Probably break your game, but have fun anyway.
Yeah, a bunch of disclaimers from WotC so they can not maybe balance stuff as well as they probably
It's
should.
like, well, it's not doesn't work in Adventure League, but go ahead and use it at your own table because we're not there.
Yeah, we're really creative and we don't have anywhere to put it right now because we're not putting any books out.
Barbarian has been severely lacking Primal Paths. We've had 2 to choose from. We got another one in the Skag, which I'm not particularly happy with.
Oh, I must have missed that one.
Well, they did the Battle Rager in Sword Coast Adventures Guide.
Oh, that's why it was in a setting book.
Right, and
Okay.
part of their main thing is wearing armor, and barbarians are not good at wearing armor.
Sure.
So, yeah, it neuters it a little bit.
You said Skag, and I was like, are they troll themed? It's only for female barbarian
No,
trolls.
not themed, flavored.
Skag is the Sword Coast Adventure Guide.
Yeah.
So they have three new paths. And then at 14th level, this is the one that, in my opinion, although these guys tell me off camera that they differ, I thought it was a bit of a broken ability. On your turn, when you are an ally, you can see within 30 feet of you is damaged by a melee attack. You can use your reaction to just cause them to take 2d8 force damage. As your ancestral guardians that are following you around just smack it with their spiritual damage.
It doesn't bother me at all, especially when you compare it to the Storm Rager when we get to that. But a couple of things I would say about this Barbarian is it's kind of a tough theme to swallow without more visual descriptor for me. Mm-hmm. Right? Are we talking about like when you go into a rage, like ghosts appear around you? Because that's sort of what I think they're saying, but I don't think they're very clear.
For Barbarian, the path of the Ancestral Guardian, the path of the Zealot, and the path of the Storm Herald.
Yes. They totally baited it and switched me with the Storm Herald. When they're talking about, they're like, this is the path. This is the Primal Path where you use magic. And I'm like, Rage Mage! And I got to it and I'm like, that's not Rage Mage at all.
Wait.
There's no
It's
spells.
called Storm Herald. There was no way you were getting like Rage Mage.
I was totally getting Rage Mage.
No. They all use magic when you think about it.
It was wishful thinking. It really was.
All right, so did we want to go through each of them? Did we want to talk about which one's our favorite?
I guess we can start at the beginning and finish at the end.
All right, so the Ancestral Guardian, this is the one that you literally are surrounded by the spirits of your ancestors. I think thematically, this one was my favorite. You go in, you get ancestral protectors. which wind up hindering your adversaries. You get an ancestral.
Essentially, they hang out and troll your enemies while you're fighting.
This
That's
one-
their job.
For me, this one was very Diablo 3. The Barbarian Diablo 3 has a number of powers, a whole string of powers, where he summons up a bunch of like ancestral guides, and they're like, you know, these compatriots that come along and run around with him and do various stuff. So this is very much that to me, which isn't bad at all. Not saying that's bad. It was cool. That's cool.
So then at 6th level, your spirit's going to aid you and provide protection to your allies. So the bonuses you get at 3rd level, you can kind of shift it to your allies instead of on yourself for the turn. At 10th level, you get the ability to consult with your ancestral spirits to get benefits and achievements.